Hey everyone, welcome back to Hardware Unboxed. For a long time now, we've been anticipating the arrival of NVIDIA's GeForce GTX 1080 Ti. Pretty much ever since the original 1080 landed back in, I think it was May. Once the Titan XP arrived in August, we had a pretty good idea of what the 1080 Ti would probably look like. Back in October, Matt put together a speculative type video that discussed how powerful NVIDIA's 1080 Ti might be. And given that we already had the Titan XP on hand, which I just said, it seemed pretty obvious what the 1080 Ti was going to be. It was expected that in today's keynote at CES 2017, NVIDIA would announce the GeForce GTX 1080 Ti, though I wasn't entirely convinced that they would. I think that one's being kept in their back pocket for when AMD's Vega arrives. Jen-Hsun started the presentation by banging on about AI-related stuff, which is very cool, but not what we're most interested in, at least not right now anyway. Eventually though, he did get to that, and it wasn't quite what we were expecting. Actually, they did keep us waiting a little bit longer, but it was worth it because along the way we got a very cool preview of the upcoming game Mass Effect Andromeda, which is set for release on March 21st, 2017, and here's a look at that now.
Sam relayed to the Tempest that we're stranded but alive. No choice but to investigate PB's signal.
Pathfinder, this console controls the gate.
Moving on, Jen-Hsun revealed a new NVIDIA product called GeForce NOW, which is essentially a cloud-based gaming service that allows you to play your games on a PC, or Mac, without the appropriate hardware. NVIDIA's remote gaming servers handle all the rendering work and also host the games themselves. You still have to own a digital copy of the game, but you don't have to download the game and host it locally, and that also means you don't have to worry about keeping it patched up to date. Apparently there is just a very small app required to connect to the GeForce NOW service. Depending on how much you pay will determine the kind of performance you can expect, and apparently there are several pricing tiers. The only pricing information announced in the live stream was a cost of $25 for 20 hours of gameplay, and that to me seems quite steep. I'm assuming that's $25 US as well. I'm not sure if there'll be a local version of the service for us Aussies, but if there is, I have to imagine that would improve latency. Although at first the price does seem steep, and without having used the service it could very well be, that said it could be a great service for casual gamers who want to enjoy the latest and greatest games in all their glory, but don't want to spend $2,000+ to get it. It could also be very useful for those wondering if upgrading their GPU to something more powerful will be worth it. Actually, if you assume that the average gamer plays around 7 hours of games per week, and that's much more than I managed to fit in unfortunately, then that's about 364 hours per year. So if you were going to use the $25 GeForce NOW option, then that would cost roughly $455 per year, about the price of a GTX 1070. Realistically, if you want to keep your gaming rig up to date with cutting edge hardware, then at the current rate things are moving, you, in my opinion, would be upgrading your GPU at least once every 2 years, with the platform probably every 4 years. So that's the motherboard, CPU and memory. Basically, I estimate you'd be averaging at least $500 per year on PC hardware. That's for a high-end system. So assuming GeForce Now works just as well, then maybe the price isn't as steep as it first appears. Of course, you will still require a basic PC with a monitor, keyboard, mouse and audio, along with what I have to imagine has to be a fairly decent internet connection. Still, another advantage of a pay-as-you-go type scheme is the fact that if you have a busy month with work or you go on a holiday and don't want to keep playing computer games, you don't have to, and you're not paying a cent for your gaming entertainment. Meanwhile, the traditional PC method sees your gaming PC sitting at home depreciating. I can't imagine extreme gamers or even those serious about their gaming would move to something like a GeForce Now service full-time. I certainly couldn't see myself doing that, but it's still a very cool concept nonetheless. Right now I have a heap of questions, which I've fired off to NVIDIA in the form of an email, and of course I really just need to play around with GeForce Now before I can give my opinion on it. Rise of the Tomb Raider was demoed using GeForce Now, and from what we saw it looks like it works really well. Of course we won't know how well it really works until NVIDIA opens up the early access, which they're said to be doing in March. I'll definitely be pushing NVIDIA for an early access account so I can test it out and let you guys know how well it does or doesn't work. I'll also be pushing NVIDIA for more information on things like the available plans and pricing, because that's really important information that we don't have much of yet. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. I'm very keen to hear your thoughts. In the meantime, I do have some cool upcoming videos. I have an update to that GeForce GTX 680 versus GTX 1050 Ti video. And with that, I've added in the Radeon HD 7970GHz edition, along with some older games for testing. So it'll be cool to see how the new generation GeForce and the old generation GeForce with the old generation Radeon compare in new and old games. Next week I'll also have a KB Lake DDR4 memory guide, which will feature quite a bit of benchmarking. Speaking of benchmarking, next week I also have that massive current generation AMD versus NVIDIA GPU comparison video, so that'll be cool. As I think I tested 11 GPUs. I think there's 11 current generation GPUs if you include the various models with different VRAM capacities. So anyway, and it's 16 of the 16 new games that were released in 2016. So that'll be cool. So anyway, that's all from me for now. I'm your host, Steve, and I'll catch you next time.